Hello and welcome back to the Willie Morgan Show. Of course, with myself, Callum McFadden, and Manchester United icon Willie Morgan. It's a very positive time to be talking about Manchester United. The club have went to the top of the Premier League and they've just knocked Liverpool out of the FA Cup, which is something I know the Morgan household are delighted about. Willie, did you watch the match? And if so, what was your verdict?
I did watch the match. You know what was more satisfying then? The fact that they scored first and watch them all run around, get away big, and then beat them in the end. That's so much better than winning 6-0. It's lovely to come from behind. But it was it's a good result. Liverpool's going through a bad time. The other old club did us a big favour, obviously, Burnley, going there and beating them, which is brilliant. To be sat at the top of the table, we're not great. Everybody knows that. We're very average, but so is everybody else. And I'd rather be there, 2 points clear. I'd rather be there and let everyone try to catch us. So no, it's all good. It's fantastic. I never ever thought we'd be at the top of the table this year. And it's just a great feeling. And now knocking Liverpool out of the cup, even better. Long may it continue, Callum. Long may it. We just need Celtic to do the same.
Well, I think that will require a miracle the way things are going at the moment. Just on Celtic, one of the things I was lucky enough to speak to Gordon Strachan this week because obviously Frank Lampard has left Chelsea, and a few people are saying that Lampard could be a Celtic manager. What would you say to that?
I think for me, I've been asked over the years, he was the best player in the Premier League for all the years that he played down at Chelsea. He was fantastic. He was a very average international player, extremely average, but he was the best club player in the land for me by miles. He was a great player for Chelsea. And, it's difficult. He's come into the game, young manager, did all right at Derby. And it's time, you got to give him time. You're not going to come in and make him, great overnight. Just like Ole, it takes time. I'm surprised they sacked him, I must be honest. I don't think he deserved it. Would he do a job at Celtic? Without a doubt, I think he would do a job at Celtic. Because then you've got Gerrard, obviously, over at Rangers, and Frank at Celtic. It'd be good. It'd be a great competition between them. So we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? I might come out of retirement myself, Callum. Would you like to be my assistant manager if I took the job at Celtic?
I would absolutely love to be, and I'm sure I would be the Jack Crompton and you would be the Sir Matt.
I don't think you'd be Jack Crompton. You might be Jimmy Murphy, though.
I don't think you'd let me be Crompton.
No, but Jimmy Murphy, yes, you would be perfect Jimmy Murphy.
One of the other aspects of football I want to discuss with you, I've got a photo of him behind me. Wayne Rooney has retired from football. He's taken the Derby job. What was your opinion of Wayne Rooney, the footballer? Because he burst onto the scene at 16 and he's now retired at 35. He's had a long career.
He's had a great career. Whatever anyone thinks of him, you have to look at his goal scoring record, which is fantastic. Great goal scoring record. He suffered towards the end of his career, certainly at Man United, when he went back into midfield. He's not a midfield player by any stretch of imagination. He's just not a midfield player. But as someone playing as a striker or playing off the striker in the 18-yard box, he was brilliant. Great goal scorer. I mean, his record's fantastic. He was a brilliant player as he was as a goal scorer for me. And it's only because at the end of his career that he struggled in midfield that people say, yeah, including me. He shouldn't have been there. But up front, brilliant.
Do you think he will make a good manager?
Yeah, because he's a good player. You know what he's looking for. You know, it's at times we say that it's a simple game played by simple people, made difficult by coaches. And I don't think he's a coach. He'll go in as a manager, and he'll be more inclined to be like one of the old time managers rather than a coach, I would think. Yeah, I think he'll do all right. You know, the thing about Rooney, he doesn't have to demand respect from people. He'll command respect because of what he's done. He doesn't have to say, oh, you know, you have to. They'll do it because they know that he was better than any of the players that he's going to be in charge of. He's better than any of them. So he'll get respect. And I hope he does all right. I don't know the lad. I know he plays cat-handed though. So we've got something in common. Golf, we're talking about. And I wish him all the best. I hope he does well.
From one footballer who you admire to another who, let's just say, you're not the biggest fan of, I believe. Paul Pogba has been playing well for Manchester United recently by all accounts. People are saying that he deserves a new 5-year contract. Your thoughts to that news?
Who said that? Was that his agent?
Well, his agent wants him away, but by all accounts, people within the club want to keep him.
Good lad, agent. Get him away. Get him away. I watched the game. He's average. You know, he's average. We're not going to miss him. Won't miss him at all. The young lad, I mean, he started on the bench, Rodriguez, and when he came on, it was much quicker, much better. He's average. Not for me. He's not my type of player. So I think we've got enough now. You know, McTominay, I thought he played well the other night as well. You know, as I said before, he's your Nobby Styles. He'll get it stuck in, win the ball for you, and you know, I like him in there. You need somebody like him. But Pogba, not for me. You know, I wish him all the best, whatever he does. Maybe change his agent, might be better, instead of spouting off every time he has a couple of bad games.
It leads us perfectly on to our first listener's question. It comes from the team that run Big Jim Holton's autobiography page. Okay. They've said, can United play Liverpool every week, Willie?
Oh, at the moment, yes. That'd be fantastic. We certainly win the league. You know my thoughts at the start of the season, before it even started. I would lay Liverpool. I would have laid Liverpool for every penny I had, which is not a lot, by the way, Callum, but whatever I had. Because I didn't think they'd win anything this year, as you know. Now, whether that's going to be true or not, we'll wait and see. But no, I'd love to play them every week at the moment, without a doubt. It would be fierce and good.
Something that's more topical at the moment is the offside rule, and Kim O'Connell has got in touch to ask your opinion on offside, because there was an incident at the weekend where Manchester City scored the goal. There's been lots of debate as to whether the goal should have stood. Kim basically asks, what's your opinion of the offside rule?
Do away with it. No offsides. Then there's no controversy anytime by anyone. You know, worry about VAR and your linesman and your referee, and it's a crazy rule anyway. It opened the game up. It made the game much better. You know, when you're offside, you're not offside. You know, it's changed, Kim, because before, even if the goal scorer wasn't offside, if anyone else was offside, then it wasn't a goal. Then they changed it, said, well, it's only the goal scorer. So they keep changing. But it's a very difficult thing. It's difficult for the linesman and difficult for the referee, because as I said before, if someone's kicking a ball from midfield forward, the linesman's watching the guy kicking it. And by the time he looks back, you could be level and then be 2 yards ahead of the defender. And you look offside, and the linesman will give you offside because he hasn't seen the whole picture. So I would do away with offside for many, many years. I think I said before, in America, when I played there, they had an 18-yard, not 18-yard, it was 30 yards from the goals on either side, and all that was playable. So you couldn't be offside in between those lines, which helped because it opened the game up, made for good football. But I would do away with offside, and just takes away, as I said, all the controversy. If it's a goal, it's a goal. So,
talking of America, Ken Dunn's got in touch to ask, who was the toughest club you played against in the States?
In the States? Oh, the toughest club. I think I don't know. Probably New York. The team that Pelé played for.
The Cosmos.
Cosmos, yeah. They were tough to play against, but we had great results against them. In fact, I think we beat them 7-0 at Minnesota when they came down there. But there was no really tough. It wasn't like that in my career. I mean, the toughest play Italy when we played the Italian teams, because they used to spit at you and yell and do all sorts of things. And the other one, which they were vile, was Estudiantes, the Argentinian champions. They were horrible. But most teams were okay to play against.
An interesting question from our good friend Otterman at Otterman62 on Twitter. I hope you are both well. I have just watched the big match revisited, and John Aston scored a cracker for Luton versus Leeds. Willie, do you think any of the players who left United in the late 60s, early 70s were let go too soon? And if so, which players were let go too soon?
Back then, not really. I mean, John scored a good goal. John was a good player, a good left winger. But George took his shirt. So you could have Bestie or John Aston. Take your pick, Callum. John was a good player, but most of the people back then could play. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been playing anyway. So it's just some were better than others. I can't think who else. I know there's a few players we bought that shouldn't have been at Old Trafford. The ones that are left. I don't think there was anyone left that we should have kept.
An interesting question to bring it back to the modern day. It's from Steve Collier, and Mark Rogers agrees with him. So both of them want to know your opinion on teams insisting that they play out from the back, because Steve's opinion is as follows. United play the ball out from the back instead of punting up the pitch straight away, which the defenders then do anyway. I find it frustrating and I can't watch because it gets in my nerves.
Well, watching the match the other night, Steve, I must say there were some hairy moments from both goalkeepers. Passing it across his box to the centre half. What are you doing? You're not passing it to Pelé. Don't get the ball up the pitch. They're all trying to follow Barcelona. When Pep was at Barcelona, and then he came to City and got City doing this. They're all trying to do that. And I wouldn't like to be a manager sitting watching. Mind you, if I was the manager, my team wouldn't be doing that, Steve. The ball would be going forward from the goalkeeper and not pitting patting around the 18-yard box. It's crazy. And like you said, as soon as fullback or centre half gets it, he kicks it upfield anyway. It's absolutely ludicrous. The problem we have these days that we didn't have in our day was that we had people who could head a ball. I know the controversy about heading a ball, but the balls these days are like beach balls anyway. But the centre forward doesn't head a ball anymore. They're not jumping to head a ball anymore. So everyone's trying to play the same as Man City, you know, who got it obviously from Pep, coming from Barcelona. And they're all trying to play that, but it's boring. It's absolutely boring. You know, they'll go so far, then turn and pass it back 50 yards. So, no, I agree with you. Not for me, Stevie. Matt, not for me.
John Bleasdale, who writes for the famous Tartan Army magazine, and John will be joining us on a future show to discuss Scotland with Willie. John wants to know, do you think United would have been able to carry on Busby's success had they been able to take Jock Stein from Celtic? Because as we know, he turned the job down before McGuinness took it.
100%, John. If Jock Stein had come to Man U, we would have carried on being the team we were. Wilf crucified the team. He decimated the great team because he was, well, you know, my thoughts on Wilf. He had a brain of a 3-year-old. I think it was unkind the last time I said 5-year-old. It was unkind to the 5-year-olds. I think he had the brain of a 3-year-old. And without a doubt, if Jock Stein had come, we would have carried on. We would never have gone through the situation we had for 5-6 years. We'd never have gone through that situation. No, Jock was a great, great manager, and he would have been perfect to take over from Matt.
In terms of Jock Stein's character, what was he like whenever you had a conversation with him?
He was like Matt. He was like chatting to your dad. You know, he's just like chatting to your dad. He was very quiet, never swore. No, I never heard him swear. He was just your dad, you know. He was a typical working class Scottish guy. And he was as close to Matt Busby as you would ever find. He was, apart from being just a lovely man, he was a great manager. So I wish Jock had taken over from Matt, without a doubt. My God, if I could turn the clock back, John. Oh, you got me thinking now. I'll be dreaming of that tonight.
Very simple question from Ashy at the Ash 67. What was it like scoring at the Stretford End?
Ashy, it was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. The Stretford End was very special. You know, there was a warmth and the feeling was phenomenal. And they were like, they were working class people, you know, that was their life. And to score for them, not in front of them, just to score for them, was a fantastic feeling. And it stays with you, you know, it stays with you all your life. I mean, I didn't score that many, I scored quite a few. I remember scoring the winner against Liverpool, talking about Liverpool. Let's really kick them in the... it was 0-0, and I don't know, towards the end of the game, and we were playing towards the Stretford end, as we always try to do. If we won the toss, we played to the scoreboard end first, and then Stretford end second half. And it was 0-0. So I scored the winner, went through, scored the winner, and Stretford end, the feeling's phenomenal. So, yeah, I wish I'd have scored, instead of making them, I wish I'd have scored a few more.
The last main question we've got, Willie, is from another good friend of the show, Nick Richards, and he says, Willie, all modern players have nutritional experts and their very own personal chefs. What was your favourite food, and what was your favourite pre-match meal?
Well, it wasn't so much a favourite. You didn't have a choice. Your pre-match meal was a steak. which was the worst thing in the world that you could get. But that was the same for every club in the country. You had a steak. That's what you had for your pre-match meal. And as you say, apparently, much later on, after I've gone to America, and they were a little bit into that in America there, including medical treatment. And I said, really? You do that? What did you do when you were back? So they didn't do that. There was nothing like that. There was no nutrition. And occasionally you'd be allowed a glass of sherry after your steak before the match to warm your stomach up. It was very basic, very simple, but we were happy. And for me, I mean, having a steak was like winning the pools, because until I joined United, I didn't know what steak was. It was all big new world for me, Nick. So, fillet steak, my God, unbelievable.
He's got a follow-up question, and we've talked about this briefly on the show before. Did you always have pasta with Sir Matt, your peers and your partners after games?
Not always. We, after a match, we would go, there was a little place over in Stretford, in Charlton actually, not Stretford, it was in Charlton. It was called Mike Maloney, an Irish lad, and he had a little place over there, a little hotel, very small hotel. And of course, we would, after we'd been to the players' room, this is Man United, they had a players' room there. And then the usual squad, Crown, Law, Sadler, Stepney, Bestie and me, would go over to Michael's place and have a few drinks there, just to calm down. And then later on in the evening, we would we'd meet up with the wives, meet Matt and Jean at a little Italian restaurant called Arturo's, which was in Manchester. And that's where we'd go for an evening meal with the gaffer and have pasta. And then I said he would do his pièce de resistance. I belong to Glasgow. And then him and Jean would go home. And then we'd all go down to Blinkers, which was the club just up the road from where the Italian restaurant was. We'd, with our wives, we'd all go down there. So yeah, that was pretty regular. That's when Matt was manager. Obviously, after he finished his manager, didn't do that after the match. So, but for me, it was unusual because the manager, the chairman, certainly never spoke to you at Burnley. Bob Lord was an animal. He thought we were serfs, common Scottish serfs, and the manager never mixed with the players ever. Not outside the club, never ever mixed with the players. And when I came, and I think the first time, and Paddy said, "You coming up to Manchester?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "We're going to this Italian restaurant and that." I said, "Oh, okay." And when I got there, and Matt and Jim were there, I thought, "Jesus, what's wrong? There's something wrong." That's what they did. It was like, my God, start having dinner with the manager. It just didn't do that at Burn, as I said. So, and he was just lovely, he was lovely. It just made you love him all the more.
Two quick questions to finish. One is a nice question, one's quite a funny one as well. Stephen wants to know, would you consider visiting Recreation Park when things get back to normal to watch Alloa Athletic?
Oh, Stephen, only if I could climb over the fence. I'd go. I know it's funny when I didn't remember playing there, obviously, which I did with the county, as we pointed out in the last show. Spearsy reminded me. I used to love going to Rex. And they had and I can't remember all the players, but Jimmy Wisher was the centre half, and he used to have his pants right up, great big thigh. And they had a right half, and I don't know if you know what that is, Stephen. A right half, he was called Doherty. And I think he eventually went to play for Hibs. And they had an inside right called White, John White, who eventually ended up playing for Spurs. For Tottenham, he was a great player, John. Lovely, great inside forward. So, and those three players were obviously there when I was a kid and going. I loved the Rex. It was great. It was fantastic too. But my main place that I went was Socky. I went down to Public Park to watch Socky play. Socky juveniles as they were then. I know the juniors now, but they were called Socky. And it was all minors that played for them, including my brother. It was all minors that played for Socky juveniles. They weren't pros. So, yeah, the Rex brings back happy memories, the Rex, Stephen, happy memories.
The last question is from Michael, and he may potentially get you in some trouble here, Willie. He wants to know, it was Kay's birthday last week, as you put on Twitter. Did you cook her a nice meal for her birthday?
Well, it's a bone of contention. The plan was that Kay would prepare the meal, and I would put it in the oven. But I had a couple of drinks and fell asleep. Yeah. So Kay actually did that, but I did pour her drinks for the rest of the night. So I did all the drinks, in fairness, and the meal was beautiful. My favourite meal, and again, Crerand and the mob, was a steak Diane. I'd never heard of steak Diane. I'd never heard of most things till I came to Man United, including wine, as you know. We used to go to the Norbreck Hydro in Blackpool for a couple of days to play golf and that. And Crerand and Law, they're ordering steak Diane. I said, "What's the steak Diane? Why is it you love it?" And of course, to this day, I still love it. And the only place that I can get it anymore is at La Familia. Piglione, who owns La Familia, still cooks it for me. They flambe it at the table. I don't know if you know this, Callum. You're a bit too young, I think, for steak Diane, you. Do you know?
No, you have to educate me.
Well, they flatten the fillet steak, but they flatten it out. And then they cook it in a pan, and they flambe it with brandy, and it's served with a sauce, Diane sauce, steak Diane sauce. And I said, this is what the United players. So when I joined them and first went to Norbreck Hydro, and I had my very first one, I said, "Oh God, can I come here all the time?" And I must say, that's what we're going to have tonight. Kay's making me a special steak Diane tonight. Obviously, we can't go to La Familia at the moment, so, but she won't flambe it. She'll just cook it on the stove. Flambeing it's a very special. You would love it. It makes you feel very special. So, I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely, it sounds fantastic. And when times are back to normal, I'll have to try one of those with you. One of the things I want to touch on just before we go, Willie, these are tough times for everyone. A lot of people out there want normality to be back. A lot of people are waiting for their vaccine as well. How important is it to stay positive during this time?
It's the craziest. You couldn't write this. If someone wrote a book and said and predicted, "Oh, this is going to happen," and that, you'd say, "Get lost, don't be so silly." It's not possible. It's not as if it's just one country. The whole world. It's everywhere on the planet. It's crazy. It's just crazy. And all you can do is, listen to the experts. And of course, they don't know the answers because it's such a new thing. They don't know the answers yet. And, you know, I hear people on the telly slagging us, oh, well, they said this and this is it. But wait a minute, it's so difficult. No one knows. They're doing their best. I don't care who your government is. They're doing their best. And all you can do is follow the guidelines. And you look at some of these idiots breaking, you know, with these parties. One in London the other day with 400 people at some bar mitzvah. Absolutely crazy. It's crazy. You've got to, I mean, it's not easy. I've watched more television than I've ever watched in my life. Not all of it good, by the way. But you have to, for the people, you know, it's all right for somebody like me. You know, we've got a nice place. I've got a bit of room. But for the people, you know, living on their own or living with the kids in apartments, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. You can't help them enough. And it's not going to go away for a long time. It's not going to go away, but they're not going to get control. It'd be another year, year and a half, I think. You just have to do it. I mean, it's sometimes you wonder what to do. And you really do. And that's us. So you can imagine what it's like for someone who's living in a little apartment with a couple of babies, you know, a single mum or a single parent, never mind just a mum. It's heartbreaking, and they can't be helped enough. They can't be helped enough. And that's what, I know that's what they're doing. Whatever government you support or whatever way you cannot give them enough support. So I just hope that everyone follows the guidelines as best they can. You know, it's not easy. Of course, it's not easy, but as best they can. And anyone who can give any help, you know, it's become a bit blasé. All the care workers but it is. What they're doing is phenomenal. What they're doing is unbelievable. I mean, they're putting their lives on the line. And I think it's fantastic. And any support at all that anyone can give, if you're in that position, I think they should. So we just got to keep going, just put up with it until hopefully they get control. I've had my first jab.
Great news.
Injections, by the way. I'm petrified. I really am. But I had my first one a couple of weeks ago. And, you know, I think they're doing a great job. The number of people that's getting the vaccine. But it's just time, as always. And all you need is idiots breaking the rules, and then you make it all worthless. So I'm all for, you want fines? Yeah, fine them, put them in jail. Or better still, deport them. Get rid of them. If you don't want to live under the laws, get rid of them. It's crazy. They're putting everyone else's life at risk. And it's absolutely diabolical. So we're just going to have to put up with it as long as we can. Just waiting on the golf courses opening. I mean, that's a little bit personal, but that's been a lifesaver just to even get on the golf course and get out. But for, say, most people can't do that. And my heart goes out to them.
It definitely is a tough time, but that was a very powerful way to end the show. Thank you, everyone who supports us. Get your questions in. For the next show, we're going to be joined by special guests over the next couple of months as well. But from Willie and myself, thank you so much for listening.